Okay. There are lots of places to start, and I think I'll just pick any one of those places and we'll go towards the other ones. The first one is this. These tunes are not difficult, so you shouldn't be reading them. I don't know how long you've worked on them, but at a certain point, these lead sheets that we have are just simply guides. They're very superficial. They give the melody and the chord changes. But by now you should know these tunes. And I think that's something, because we're in the present day, we're lucky enough to have lead sheets and books and the real books and edition 5, 6, and 7. We've started to depend on the page. And that's not how this music developed. The music did not develop on the page. It developed off the page. So the first thing I would recommend is that you use the sheets for what they're meant for, as a guide. And then you get rid of them. Because what's happening is that your focus is on the music stand. And since a large percentage of the information that you're communicating to us is not on that page. It's not, there's nobody telling you what to play, there's no accompaniment figure, there's nothing telling you how to communicate with each other, what the bass part exactly is, there's nothing there. So you have to generate that, you individually and the group. So if the focus is on the page, I think you're losing the opportunity to communicate with each other more, and with us. So that's the first thing. I mean, and Half Nelson is a standard. So that's just on the list. You have to know that tune if you want to be in this tradition, right? I don't know the other tune, sorry.
Mira, the Andrew Hill.
Of?
The name is Mira.
Mira.
The Andrew
Oh,
Hill.
Andrew Hill.
Sí.
Oh, yeah?
Sí.
Ah, okay. I don't know this tune of Andrew Hill, but I know Andrew Hill's work. And it's pretty complex. So what came after the melody is probably a lot more complicated than what you played for us. Am I right? I don't know the recording.
I did the arrangement of that music, and okay, the solos part is created by myself. Now it's written for
okay. Has it been recorded though? Do you know? Is there a recording of it?
Yeah, I have the recording, but
okay.
The recording only have the melody
and
the solos with the same structures. It's 2 chords.
Right, 2 chords.
That's
yeah.
It,
okay.
The tune.
Okay.
And I created a bridge.
Nice.
For open
to open it. Okay, so you answered one of my other places to come from, which is opening up closed cycles, which is a challenge. You know, I'll go back to Half Nelson because I didn't know this tune. You know, Half Nelson was written, I don't know, 50 years ago, and it's based on another tune, right? Do you know which one? Lady Bird, great. So it's part of a tradition of jazz tunes that takes a harmonic progression of one tune and writes another melody. But, you know, we've evolved, and jazz is something that evolves constantly. So your reading of this, if you want to come up to date, should evolve from the place it started, I think. So you can state it and say it, but I would love to hear an intro, an interlude, maybe a modulation, because what happened in your performance is that you stayed inside of the box of the tune, just the harmonic box of the tune, and it just cycled around and around and around and around. And I think there's much more to be done with it. We're not in the time anymore when it's all about only how great the solos are, although that's a big deal. but there's a lot more at our disposal now that you might investigate. Soloing has become more group-oriented. It's one way to go. So you can speak to each other a little bit more rather than, because let's face it, the tune is what, about 27 seconds long, if that, and then the rest of the 10 minutes or whatever of the performance is improvised. So that has to be pretty interesting in order to be as good as the song. You know what I'm saying? So I would investigate ways to make Half Nelson nowadays more interesting and make it yours. That's really the most important thing, I think. My challenge to my students is always this. Let's imagine that some record producer falls in love with your band and you're going to do a record 2 months from now and you're going to put Half Nelson on the record. The last thing you want to do is put Half Nelson on the record the way it was done when it first came out. You want to do something with it. And so that's what I think you might go for. Like, what can we do with this? It can start out with an intro in another key. There's so many ways to go without getting too deeply into that. But you all know what I'm saying?
But, I didn't arrange it of Half Nelson.
Of?
I didn't arrange.
Yeah.
I didn't make the arrange.
Right. No.
Okay.
Is there an arrangement? It's just the melody and the chord changes, right?
That's
the arrangement from the record.
Right. Exactly my point. Exactly my point. The danger of doing that, although we have a problem as jazz players. Number one, to learn the tradition, we go with the model. So you learn it from the model, correct. You can learn the solos because those are also important, not just the tune itself, but what else was done with the tune. And then we move from there. It doesn't get etched in stone that way, because if it gets etched in stone that way, it's a museum. Do you know what I mean? And it can be a very vital music. You can give me something else about Half Nelson that I never would have thought of, and then I get really happy. You know what I mean? So yes, we do have that issue. We must learn, if we want to say that we're jazz players and we come from the tradition, we learn what happened before. Yes. But the intent is to move beyond it, not to just keep repeating it over and over again, I think. There may be people that argue with me, but I always go back to the record idea. If you put out a CD with this tune on it, you do not want to be compared with what happened before. You want to be changing it. That's my view. So here's something I'd like to do, another subject, rhythm. Very nice, everything's in time. Everything pretty much stays on the same intensity level from where it started to where it ended. It just basically is all one thing. So I'd like to see if we can get a little bit more flow going rhythmically. And part of that would be the drummer. What's your name? Sorry? Nuno. Don't play literally. Instead of marking time, em vez de marcar, faz mais pulsação. More pulse than marking. Because you're basically just literally playing the time and the cells and the rhythmical cells. But it's not opening up a rhythmical space for them because they're depending on you. If you drop out, I don't know what's going to happen. But I'd like to find out. You know what I mean? So if you play feeling the pulse more, but a little bit more open and more orchestrating your part than marking it, I'd be curious to see what happens. I would imagine that the other players will become more responsible for bringing the dynamism to the rhythm. Maybe the guitar parts will become a little bit more intense. I don't know what's going to happen. A lot can happen. But I think it starts from there. Can we try that? So play the tune, and Nuno is going to is going to change his parts. He's going to, you know, flow between the rhythm levels, drop out once in a while. Just have some fun. You can play the head, sure. In fact, play the head, but don't mark time in the head. Play the melody, maybe. Cool. Okay. Great. Sorry. Great. It's already better for me. I don't know how it feels to you, but to me it's a more interesting listening experience because you're being forced to create a little bit more, I think, instead of leaning on, here's something that Ornette Coleman said, which I love. When he came out with his attempts to sort of break free of the box, he said, you know, let's stop playing the background, let's play the foreground. Because the tradition at that time period was to just take the chord changes, the box, and just play them instead of the melodies. And this allows you to play more of the melodies. So one more thing, the walking feels great. So now come up with a way not to walk. The walking, the four, is very nice. It's strong and it's together and it's keeping the band locked. Now stop doing it. Okay. See what happens. You know, break it up. Okay. Just play somebody's solo. hogging the mic.
No. It has to do with what he said. I was teaching chamber music the other day, and they were singing "Tonight, Tonight." Okay. They were depending on the pianist to tune, you know. And I told them, listen, if you don't have a pianist, what are you going to do? You're going to sing out of tune, because it must be in your ear, in your head, before you sing, and not on the piano. You cannot depend on the piano to play the note for you to sing. So what I remember this when I walked in, and we were beginning to play, like as far as the pulse went away, you like lost the pulse, because you were depending on someone to tell you, this is the pulse, so then you follow. The pulse must be inside. And I think that's why Cliff is taking any reference for you to look inside.
Right. Eventually I'll take away drum by drum. Okay. So yeah, break it up. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how it feels to you. It could be feeling, I don't know what it feels like. But this is, you know, there's risk-taking going on. That's what we can bring to the table. That's more interesting. The other thing, just before we close, is the next step, I think, is to remember what you're doing from performance to performance. I think what makes this kind of tradition interesting is that we don't start from zero all the time. The next time you play Half Nelson together, remember what you just did and start from somewhere in there, because that's how it evolves really quickly from something that it was 2 weeks ago into something unrecognizable today. And that's interesting. You know what I mean? So a lot of things just happened. I don't know, again, the way we evaluate personally what happens is changes. And it would be nice to record this, maybe you are. And really go and say, wow, that worked, that didn't work. And you start to sculpt it a little bit more over time. And then, you know, when you get that gig where you get to work 5 nights a week together for the next 2 months, you know, but then you'll grow. I'm joking because those things don't exist anymore. But when you go to the next place, the next stage, the next recording, the next performance, you bring this to the table, what just happened. And then you know, then things really become vitalized. Questions? It's a very short form. And all we hear after a while is tonic, 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 you know, forever. And our challenge is how to break away from that a little bit. You started to put some other pedal tones down. That was nice. You know, focus on tonal areas that may not always be the tonic in the same place at the same time. And then we start to shape the thing. We start to make a larger form out of a short form. Okay. That's all I have to say. Thank you.